أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. In the name of God, most merciful, ever merciful, and may God's peace and blessings be upon His holy Prophet, our beloved Muhammad, and the purified members of his household and progeny. We now know, based on what we have said so far, about the position of Imam al Hussain alayhi salam in the sayings of the Holy Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa alihi. What we would like to do tonight, specifically, is to start looking at the life, the biography of Imam al Hussain alayhi salam. We can't look at his entire life, so we can look at least at glimpses, now that we know his position in religion, in this entire system we call Islam. Now we want to get to know him a little bit better. Unfortunately, for most of us, what we have heard about Imam al Hussain alayhi salam really concentrates on the last chapter of his life. When we talk about Karbala, if we want to look broadly, the events that led to Karbala really started about 7 months before the end of the life of Imam al Hussain alayhi salam. And if we want to look more specifically, then Karbala was not more than a few days and nights. And if we want to really limit it to the actual maqtal, as we call it, the martyrdom of the Imam, it was but a few hours of one single day in the holy life of our Imam. So what we wanted to do tonight is to start looking at the life of Imam al Hussain alayhi salam, starting from his birth and going until the moment where he took over as an Imam. And this was around the year 50 after the migration of the Holy Prophet. Why do we study the life of Imam al Hussain alayhi salam? First and foremost, we know that in Islam, he is considered to be the greatest of all martyrs. This is in addition to his positions and his rank in terms of eloquence, knowledge, piety, bravery, and so on and so forth. But beyond that, Imam al Hussain alayhi salam is considered a pivotal character in the history of humankind. There is the history of humankind before Imam al Hussain alayhi salam and after. And this is not only limited to the followers of Ahlul Bayt. When we say that Imam al Hussain alayhi salam plays a pivotal role in the history of mankind. When we look at people from the other schools of thought in Islam, and when we look at people who are famous thinkers, they are social leaders, they are political and religious leaders from other faiths, we see that those who are true thinkers among them, all of them spend time studying the life of Imam al Hussain alayhi salam. People like Gandhi, people like Charles Dickens, people like Antoine Bara, they have all studied the life of Imam al Hussain alayhi salam, not for religious reasons. So this is an additional incentive for us to look at the life of our holy Imam, Imam al Hussain alayhi salam. Imam al Hussain is the consummation and comes from the marriage that is considered the most holy in Islam, comparable only to the marriage of our holy Prophet with Khadijah al-Kubra. He is the fruit of the marriage of Imam Ali alayhi salam and Fatima al-Zahra. He was born in the holy city of Medina 4 years after the migration of the Holy Prophet. That's why we say it's a Hijri year. He was born on the 3rd of Sha'ban, and he passed away in the year 60, where his martyrdom happened. So he lived for 57 years. And for reference, because we will be talking a lot about his relationship with the Holy Prophet, the Holy Prophet passed away in year 11 after the migration. which basically tells us that Imam al Hussain alayhi salam lived with the Holy Prophet for a total of 6 years and 6 months. As mentioned, and we started talking about this last night, the relationship between the Holy Prophet and Imam Hussain alayhi salam started right from the birth of the Imam, where the Holy Prophet was attending the birth itself. And from that point on, the relationship between the Imam and the Holy Prophet was one of the strongest that we could see. Right from the birth, the Holy Prophet continued establishing the rituals that have now become a tradition in Islam when there's a newborn. For instance, we feed the poor on behalf of the newborn. And we take care, we make sure that we reward and respect the midwife. These are some of the manners that surround the birth, and we saw the Holy Prophet performing them in the birth of Imam al Hussain alayhi salam. And as we said right from the beginning, the Holy Prophet highlighted the tragic aspect of the life of the Imam right from the birth. And we will not repeat what we have already said. So right from the beginning, the Holy Prophet said that Imam al Hussain alayhi salam is going to be killed by transgressors, by people who are injustice from the tribe of Bani Umayyah. This was on the first day of the life of Imam al Hussain alayhi salam. During the years that followed, we have many narrations from the Holy Prophet talking about Imam al Hussain alayhi salam, as we saw yesterday. Except that we didn't highlight one point about those narrations. We alluded to it, but we need to spend a little bit more time about it. That point is that most of these narrations happened when Imam al Hussain alayhi salam was 2 years old, and 4 years old, and 6 years old. And yet we see the Holy Prophet referring to the Imam in his full rank. The Holy Prophet is saying that he is an Imam, as we saw. As we have in one of the narrations, the Holy Prophet says about his grandsons, both Imam al-Hassan and Imam al-Hussain, that both of them are Imams, whether they rise or they sit. So a first point about this narration is that this is clearly a reference to the future. And then we have to pay attention. Why is the Holy Prophet saying this hadith in this manner specifically? It already gives us an idea that the Holy Prophet knows that there are going to be circumstances, there are going to be situations where maybe people are going to doubt the imamah of one or both of these imams. And the reason being that the circumstances are different. So one of them may behave in a certain way in one situation, and the other may behave in another way in another situation. And this may actually shake up people's belief in their imamah to the point where they will doubt it. So right from the beginning, as we said, the Holy Prophet does not leave it to chance. He establishes that both of them are imams regardless of the behavior and the decisions that they are going to make because of the circumstances that they are in. So this is an important point to keep in mind. And secondly, and specifically about Imam al Hussain alayhi salam, when the Holy Prophet is saying that Imam al Hussain is an Imam regardless of his decisions and his behavior, the Holy Prophet is basically saying that there will come a day when this child is going to become a divinely appointed Imam. And so any follower of the Prophet, any follower of Islam who witnesses that time is going to have a duty towards this today child and tomorrow Imam. If you actually believe that he is a divinely appointed Imam, that you must act accordingly. There will be a time when he may need your support. There may be a time when he may need your obedience and action in following him. So this is an argument that the Holy Prophet is establishing right from the beginning of the life of Imam al Hussain alayhi salam. During the life of the Holy Prophet, we notice right away that he took a great care not only generally speaking about the behavior and the upbringing and the care of Imam al Hussain and Imam al Hussain, but even in the finest details of their upbringing. And when we think about this, we have to agree that this is quite surprising. The Holy Prophet, if we don't want to look at him from that holy perspective, let's look at it from a materialistic point of view. The Holy Prophet is a very busy man. The Holy Prophet at that point was a very big leader with tremendous responsibilities politically and religiously and socially and militarily. And despite all of this, he is making that much time to attend and to be present in the care and the upbringing of Imam al Hussain and Imam al Hussain, both, peace upon them both. And this is a very important point for all of us. This is where we start our philosophy of taking care and upbringing of our children. You see the role that the Holy Prophet is playing in their lives. So when we say finest details, we're talking about things like feeding, where we have in our narrations that the Holy Prophet, in many instances, took care of the feeding himself of Imam al Hussain and Imam al Hussain. And the historians tell us that the Holy Prophet is the one who taught Imam al Hussain how to speak. The details of this are interesting. We have to dig for them in some narrations. But we are told that Imam al Hussain alayhi salam apparently did not speak a word until he was about 6 months old. And this may seem normal to us today. In fact, it may seem even early. But by the standards of the family of the Prophet, this was considered very late. In comparison to Imam al Hussain, for instance. Not that anyone had expressed any concerns, but people were very impatiently waiting for Imam al Hussain alayhi salam to speak. So we have in some of our narrations that the Holy Prophet was about to pray near Imam al Hussain alayhi salam. And so when he started his prayer and said, Allahu Akbar, Imam al Hussain alayhi salam, at that time he was 6 months old, the first words that he would utter were repeating after the Holy Prophet, the same words, Allahu Akbar. When the Holy Prophet heard the words from Imam al Hussain alayhi salam, the narrations tell us that he repeated it again. He said, Allahu Akbar. And the Imam repeated it again as well. And the narration tells us that this was done 7 times. And perhaps this is the origin of the istihbab, the reward that the recommendation that we have in repeating the Allahu Akbar statement at the beginning of the prayer 7 times. When the Imam Hussain alayhi salam got a little bit older, the Holy Prophet is also the first to have taught him to recite the Quran. It is said that he sat him down and read Surah Al-Ikhlas or Surah Al-Tawheed, Qul Huwa Allahu Ahad, and the Imam repeated the entire chapter with the Holy Prophet. These are very fine details in the upbringing of Imam al Hussain alayhi salam on the part of the Holy Prophet. If we look at the role that the Holy Prophet was giving to Imam al Hussain and Imam al Hussain, it may be shocking to us. If the Holy Prophet is praying near the Imam, it means that the Holy Prophet really tolerated having children around him when he prayed. Perhaps having children around him in the mosque. And even if we look at instances that are considered determinant in the history of our religion, we see that there's always a place specifically for Imam al-Hussain and Imam al-Hussain. So from a point of view of a philosophy of upbringing of our children, of the care of children in Islam, we start seeing that there's a different role than perhaps the one we're accustomed to. For instance, in the event of Mubahala, and we don't have time to talk about it in depth, this is an event that could be determining for the fate of Islam. Anyone who goes in an instance where you have the representatives of Christianity debating with the Holy Prophet whether they are going to enter into Islam or not, and then they go into this kind of prayer called al-mubahala, where both sides pray to God to bring a curse and punishment upon the other if they are lying immediately. That is the meaning of mubahala. And the Christians saw that the Holy Prophet only came with his daughter Fatima al-Zahra and Imam Ali alayhi salam and Imam al Hussain and Imam al Hussain, and they decided not to enter into the mubahala with the Holy Prophet. This gives us an indication of the role that the Holy Prophet is making the Imams play, even at that young age. There's an active participation, even though in our eyes they are children. The Holy Prophet wants children to be accustomed to places of worship, to learn directly and by experience. A person does not enter into religion when they're 15 years old. They enter into religion the day they are born, and they grow into it by direct observation, by living it daily. This means that our tolerance level for having children around us, let's say in a majlis or during prayer, has to be raised to a high level. When the Holy Prophet raised the Imam, we said that that attachment between the Holy Prophet and the Imam remained extremely strong all the way until the very last moments of the Holy Prophet. In our narrations we have, as we said, Imam al Hussain and Imam al Hussain lying down on the Holy Prophet while he's breathing his last breaths. And in the narrations we are told Imam Ali alayhi salam tried to remove them from the Holy Prophet so that he would take his last breaths in peace and rest and tranquility, and the Holy Prophet prevented him from doing so. And he said, let them take a little bit more from me and let me take a little bit more from them. And this shows us the kind of attachment and relationship between the Holy Prophet and Imam al Hussain, and specifically Imam al Hussain, from the birth until the last breaths of the Holy Prophet. Then, and I think it's important to mention this point at least quickly, some historians tell us that Imam al Hussain and Imam al Hussain were somewhat neutral or even in agreement with the political events that took place after the demise of the Holy Prophet. So here I wanted to stop for 1 second and look at this instance logically, from a historical point of view. We know that Imam al Hussain alayhi salam is a child of about 6.5, just under 7, when the Holy Prophet passes away. And then history tells us that there was an upheaval. There was an attack on the house of his parents. There was perhaps a burning of the house. His pregnant mother miscarries a child in her belly. His father is taken forcibly out of the house with a rope around his neck, around his hands, to give allegiance while he believes that he should be the caliph. His mother passes away a couple of months later. Now let's put aside the sacredness of the knowledge of the Imam. Let's put that aside for a second. Let's look at these events from a purely materialistic point of view. We're saying that the Imam is a child of about 7 years old. And from what we know clearly, he is at least of a superior than average intelligence. So if a child of about 7 witnesses these events, they're not reported to him. It's not someone telling him that these events occurred. He actually lives them, experiences them directly. The people who attacked and the people who behaved in this manner not long ago were the same people surrounding his grandfather who has just passed by, who has just passed. They were the companions of the Prophet, so he knows them. Do you think that he will forget this event? Do you think that he will not remember what is happening? Do you think that he will become a follower of these people? Do you think that he will become a supporter of their policies when he has lived these events himself? The reason we mention this is that we have to keep this in mind because these events mold the personality of the Imam for years to come. And the same thing can be said about Imam al Hussain. And the reason we say this is because some historians insist that they were neutral with regards to the political events, or that they were even in support of certain of these events, contrarily to their father, Imam Ali alayhi salam, who would have objected or been in disagreement or in opposition. So that's the point we're trying to make here. And then if we continue, he witnessed Imam Ali alayhi salam give up his divine right. And in our narrations we are told Imam Ali says, and we find this in Nahj al-Balagha, he says, I was patient even though it was like splinters in my eyes and bitterness in my mouth. These are lessons that the Imam is learning day in and day out with his Holy Father, and things that he will repeat himself later on. And then if we fast forward a little bit, after these events, we see that Umar ibn al-Khattab becomes the second caliph. At that time, the age of the Imam is about 9 years old. We're told that one day he entered the mosque and the second caliph had just started his caliphate. And we are told that the Imam walked right up to the pulpit and he told him, come down from the pulpit of my father and go stand on the pulpit of your own father. And the second caliph told him, you are right, this is the pulpit of your father. Of course, the second caliph here meaning the Holy Prophet, not Imam Ali. But then he asked him, who has taught you to say this? Because perhaps someone has sent the Imam to cause this commotion. He's a child and he's speaking publicly in this manner. So the Imam replied, no one has sent me. I'm speaking of my own accord. But at the same time, the Imam is a loyal follower of Imam Ali alayhi salam right from the beginning. And the Imam had stayed away for many reasons, including the main one, which is trying to preserve this religion by not causing an internal war that causes annihilation. So the Imam learns from this, and he lived his whole life in that manner as well. The role of the Imam was removed from direct politics and mostly limited to giving advice and guidance religiously and stepping in when there was an injustice that might be done or when he was invited to give advice and guidance. And that's why we have so many repeated instances, specifically from the second caliph, who used to say, may I never live for a day in which I have a dilemma and I do not have a solution to it, coming from Abu al Hussain, which is a reference to Imam Ali alayhi salam. Some historians say that this, in one shape or form or another, this utterance was repeated more than a couple of thousand times by the second caliph, which tells us the role that the Imam was playing. And again, we will see that role. It's a role to make sure that there's no deviance from religion without directly impacting the political events of the day. And then when we fast forward to the beginning of the caliphate of the third caliph, when Uthman took over, we start noticing that there is a change in the manner in which Imam Ali alayhi salam started interacting with the political events of the day. He started voicing and showing a lot more opposition. And this was because there were huge changes taking place socially and religiously. There was too much deviation. There is too much social injustice taking place. Islam was becoming the sole property of the Umayyad. That government was starting to deal with Islam as though it is their personal property. And much injustice was being done. And so the Imam started to speak up. And we have many instances where we clearly see the role of the Imam shifting specifically in this third caliphate. One such instance was the event that happened with the great companion, Abu Dharr al-Ghifari. Abu Dharr was considered a brave man from the day we meet him in history. Sincere, pure, loyal, he follows the truth and does not compromise. And we are told when he entered Islam, he was one of the first to go in the middle of the marketplace among those who were against Islam, the polytheists. He would stand in the middle of the marketplace and he would raise his voice and he would call people to this new religion of Islam. He was doing this at a time when no one dared say that they were Muslim, because people were being found and were being tortured to death. And we see the behavior of Abu Dhar at that time. That gives us an idea of who this man was. So during the caliphate of the third caliph, Abu Dhar was speaking out, not surprisingly. He was saying this is a social injustice, and that is a social injustice. And this was giving headaches to that government. So they exiled him, first to Damascus. And he caused them headaches over there. And they made him promise to tone it down, and they brought him back. And of course, he did not tone it down. This time, the third caliph decided to banish him, to exile him to a region in the desert that is absolutely uninhabitable, that no one can live in, called Al-Rabada. And so he gave orders that when Abu Dhar would be taken out of Al-Madinah, that no one was allowed to accompany him. No one was allowed to say farewell to Abu Dhar. And if they did, the soldiers would punish them or kill them. And we see Imam Ali alayhi salam coming out with his son Imam al Hussain and Imam al Hussain, escorting Abu Dhar miles outside of Al-Madinah. And Imam al Hussain around this time was about 26, 27 years old, and saying farewells in a manner that is consoling to the heart of Abu Dhar, telling him they feared you because they like worldly things. And what you feared was religion and your God. So don't worry, go on. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will take care of you. And what we know is that now that time after those events, Abu Dhar, may God have mercy upon his soul, passed away all alone in that region of the desert out of thirst and hunger. Those were the events that were happening and taking place at that time. Once the caliphate finally reached his father, Imam Ali alayhi salam, the role of Imam al Hussain and Imam al Hussain was that of supporters and allies with their holy father. Not because he is their father, but because he is their religious Imam. The caliphate of Imam Ali alayhi salam was very short, and it was marred by 3 consecutive wars. The Battle of the Camel, the Battle of Siffin, and the Battle of Nahrawan. We are told that in the Battle of the Camel, Imam Ali alayhi salam noticed right away that Imam al Hussain and Imam al Hussain would never back out. They wouldn't retreat. Every time that there was an attack, they were leading it. And so at some point he said, hold these 2 youngsters for me, for I am afraid for the lineage of the Holy Prophet. Imam Ali alayhi salam is not afraid for his own lineage. And he's not talking about family ties once again. The Imam is referring to the role of Imamah. He knows that if these 2 were to be killed, then Imamah is going to cease then and there. And these words remind us of the words of Imam al Hussain alayhi salam in Karbala, when there was no one left except one man in the tents who was unable to walk, Imam al-Sajjad alayhi salam. And when he heard his father saying, is there no supporter to support us? Is there no one to aid us? And Imam al-Sajjad alayhi salam was trying to get up. Imam al-Hussain alayhi salam asked his sister Zainab to hold him back, saying the same thing as Imam Ali, for the lineage of the Holy Prophet, he cannot get up. If we look, unfortunately, when we look at the knowledge of Imam al Hussain alayhi salam, this is one more area where I think we have to do a lot more work. I think a lot of us do not realize the amount of religious Islamic knowledge that has come down to us from Imam al Hussain specifically. A lot of us rely on Nahj al-Balagha. We love to read it, read parts of it, and read commentaries on it. So to give you an idea, one reference, one place to start, there's a book in Arabic called Mawsu'at Kalimat al Imam al Hussain, the encyclopedia of the sayings of Imam al Hussain alayhi salam. And that book is actually more voluminous, bigger in size than Nahj al-Balagha. And it contains the sermons and the sayings and the teachings of Imam Hussain alayhi salam. And when we read them, astonishingly, in a lot of them we find the same structure and the same eloquence that we would probably mistake for sayings of Imam Ali alayhi salam. So this is simply an invitation to go and look and read into the sayings of the Imam. They deserve to be read and they deserve to be studied and pondered. Another excellent source is the book by Ibn Shu'ab al-Harrani called Tuhaf al-Uqul, and this one has been translated. It is selections by the author of sayings from all the Imams in various topics. And to go back to the role that the Imam Ali alayhi salam played, we find narrations in this book that give us an idea of the role that the Imam was playing during those times. The Imam heard people in his time saying that the adhan, for instance, and these are instances of deviations that the Imam corrects in society. He heard that the source of the adhan of our religion, the call to prayer in our religion, is that one of the companions, Abdullah ibn Zayd, would have dreamt it. And there are different narrations stating different names. So we have the Imam, when he heard people speak in this manner, he said, the revelation came down to your Prophet, teaching him this call to your prayer. And here you are claiming that it was a dream that would have been seen by Abdullah ibn Zayd. How dare you? The call to prayer is the face of your religion. Now this may seem like it's a simple deviation in society, but we see how the Imam aggressively follows it and makes sure to bring it back to the way it is. If we start accepting that our religion is coming from dreams, we're going to have issues very soon. If we follow this line of chronology, we reach the end of the life of Imam Ali alayhi salam, when we see that the Imam was by his side all the way to the end. The attachment of Imam Hussain to Imam Ali was tremendous. And this continued, a lot of historians say, it started because the Imam lost his mother at a very young age. So his entire attachment was to his father. And this can be seen through various aspects and dimensions. One way, perhaps a simplified example of this, is that one day a man saw him with some of his sons, and he asked him, what are their names? And Imam alayhi salam replied, the first one is called Ali, referring to Ali al-Akbar. The second one is called Ali, referring to Imam Ali al-Sajjad, Zayn al-Abidin. And the third called Ali, which we call Ali al-Asghar, that some historians say he is Abdullah al-Radi', and some say it's a different child. And so the man was astonished, and he said, have you run out of names that you call all of your children Ali? And the Imam replied, I swear to God that if I had 50 sons, I would call them all Ali.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
The reason for this, first, is the point we're trying to make about the attachment of the Imam to Imam Ali alayhi salam. Not because he is his father, but because he is the Imam. And secondly, the Imams never do anything for no reason. It basically tells us that the Imam knows that there's an attack on the personality, on the symbol of Imam Ali. That there's an attempt to erase him from religion. And so the Imam is making a point to re-establish him, even if it is just by naming his children in his name, even if it is more than one of them. He repeats the name to ensure that this name never disappears. We're starting to run out of time. I will leave you with this one scene that gives us an idea of the splendor and magnanimity of the personality, of the character of Imam al Hussain alayhi salam. While and during the last battle that the Imam entered with Imam Ali alayhi salam, it was the battle of Nahrawan. It was against the Khawarij. And we are told that once this battle ended and the Imam was walking by and the Khawarij were defeated, one of the men who had been caught started moaning and begging the Imam to help him. And so the Imam asked him, what does he want? And the man said, these ropes are too tight around my hands. Can you please loosen them? And here again, it might seem like a simple gesture from the Imam, but the Imam does not do it. He is an Imam. He is the son of an Imam. He is the son of a military political leader. He doesn't do it. He goes, and in the riwayah says, he asks the permission of Imam Ali alayhi salam. He tells him, do you give me permission to open, to unknot, to loosen the ropes around the hands of that man? For my sake, I would like to do it. And Imam Ali alayhi salam agrees and lets him do it. And the Imam walks back to the man and he opens the ropes around the hands of that man, who was none other than Shimr ibn Dhil Jawshan, who would use those hands to cut off the head of the Imam. This is the splendor, this is the grandeur, this is the generosity, this is the type of behavior that we have from Imam al Hussain alayhi salam. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help us understand the life of the Imam, so that we may follow it in belief and in action. Assalamu ala al-Hussain wa ala Ali ibn al-Hussain wa ala awlad al-Hussain wa ala ashab al-Hussain wa sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi at-tayyibin at-tahirin.